All right. Thanks so much. Thank you, Elise. Hopefully you all have had a chance to add your good books into the chat. If not, please go ahead and do that. But otherwise, I am going to go ahead and start this webinar. So get back and make sure that, there we go. So thank you everyone for coming. Welcome. This is our third Augmented meeting technology showcase, and glad you could join us. So today we're featuring a number of fine folks, and I am your host. My name is Trisha Harris, and I am the customer success evangelist here at Lucid Meetings. So what I'm going to do is ask everyone to introduce themselves, and I will walk through each of the presenters. So first we have Jim. I'll let you go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jim Callback. I'm the head of customer experience at Mural. We're a virtual digital whiteboard, and I'm going to be showing you how you can visualize your meetings using Mural.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Welcome. We also have Elise Keith. There we go.
Hi, everybody. I am Elise Keith. I'm the CEO and founder of Lucid Meetings, and I will be showing you our software platform today.
Great. And thank you, Elise. At least, last but not least, we have Mike as well from Inspirometer.
I'm Mike Largo from the other side of the pond from the others here. I'm part of Inspirometer, and our role is to provide easy ways for people to not just get feedback on meetings, but measure their effectiveness. And I'll be demonstrating that later.
Perfect. Thank you, Mike. Thanks all of you for joining us. We're going to jump into why everyone is here today. We wanted to figure out what brought you here. A lot of you, we had just over 80 registrants today, and many of you were looking for something that you could use in your work. Some of you will be joining us live. Some of you are joining us via recording. But looking for something to use in your work, some of you are interested in just keeping up with technology. You're a technologist or analyst, eager to learn more, and then a few of you are just curious, and we understand that. A lot of all of us join webinars because we're curious. We want to find out what's out there, what's new and different. So one of the questions we ask as folks who develop technology is, what are the gaps that you have in that technology? What is it that you already have, and what are you working with? So we see a number of people already have things like conferencing tools, conference call. A number of you have meeting management tools. That's a specialty of Lucid Meetings, so we're not surprised by that. And many of you also have video conferencing, which is what we're using, Zoom. And then there are some of the specialized tools like brainstorming tools, analytics tools, and I'm happy to show you some of those things today. So one thing that we also asked ahead of time is what are the key questions you're trying to answer or problems you're trying to solve? And it looks like I got a little bit cut off here, and I apologize for that. But many of you are bringing more value to your participants. That's one of the things that you really want to do. Sometimes people want to run workshops online. That can be a fun thing to do, but also have many pieces and parts moving. So we'll go a little bit into that. Some of you wanted to capture ideas, have follow-up. Those are the things that we do within Lucid, of course. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and prepared for meetings. Interactive whiteboard. That's something that I think Jim will talk a lot about, and something similar audio to text auto recorder. Now that's something we actually did in a previous webinar, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Solid analytics. This comes up almost every single time. That is a common theme. People want to know, how are their meetings going? I'll let Mike talk more about that. And this is a little bit longer answer, but we went ahead and put the whole thing because it just resonated with a lot of themes that we come across. People always want to be more productive. They want to figure out how technology can help them do that. Reduce the chatter, make sure everyone feels engaged in the meeting itself, and make it easier for people that are virtual to participate and to hear everything that's going on. So those are all great themes. We have another one that talks about integrating perfectly with all your devices. So with that, I'm going to move us forward and talk a little bit about why is it that we actually showcase other meeting technologies? Well, it's a good question, and we like to answer it right out of the gate. We like to, as a software provider, which is we provide many different things, we like at Lucid Meetings, our mission is to make it easy for teams to hold successful meetings every single day, not just one meeting, but every meeting. So software is just one of the services that we offer. And our software is really good at doing some things, but not everything. So there are a lot of, everyone has meetings. They can be very complicated and have all kinds of different inputs and outputs. And that's why we bring others into the fold to help us explain kind of some of the other technology that's out there. So some of the previous meeting technologies that we have featured are listed here. There are, we've featured folks that allow for agile retrospective software, brainstorming. You can collect meaningful data with a lot of these tools. And Voicea is one of those that I mentioned before, which allows you to record and have a transcript of your meeting. So I encourage you to check all of these out. We have the video showcases that we've done before all on YouTube on our channel. So check them out. So with that, we're going to talk about the plan. There's a quick introduction, which is done. I already did that. There's going to be a 15-minute presentation of each technology, and then we'll have a lot of time for questions. So stick around for that. The last piece is that Housekeeping Chat is open. Some of you have already used it. Feel free to use the questions box as well to answer any questions. We are recording this. We will send a copy of the video recording afterwards, and we'll post it to our YouTube channel. So one thing I will do is actually when each participant has 1 minute before their time ends, I'm going to give them a little, and then that way they'll know ahead of time that they're running against their time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to, let's start with Jim.
We'll unmute and start sharing my screen then. Just give me a second to switch. Let me know when you're seeing my screen. Are you seeing the mural, Trisha?
I am. Yes, I am.
Okay,
thank you.
fantastic. And I'm going to put a timer on because we do have a timer built into Mural as well too. Yeah, I mean, these are all great topics, very interesting themes for Mural as well too. Collaboration, whether it's in person or virtual. I think the dimension or the dynamic that we bring to the table, to the conversation, is around visualization. So I want to talk about Mural, the virtual whiteboard and online whiteboard, and how you can use that to visualize your conversations and kind of map out your conversation. So this is me. I'm Jim Caldback, the head of customer experience at Mural, and you can reach me at jim@mural.co. Very short email addresses there. Just want to talk about, and you know, Trisha mentioned some of these challenges too, but I just want to talk a little bit about some of the challenges that a tool like Mural might address. Because we're all about space, right? You can think about Mural like a virtual space that you get. You can access it right through your browser or through one of our native apps, but it allows you to visualize your meeting and kind of work out loud. And some of the pain points that we address are things like this, meeting rooms at a premium in a lot of offices. We've seen that it's hard to get a meeting room sometimes, or one that's big enough. And then if you do get a meeting room, it's not permanent, right? Has anybody ever done this before? Do not erase. You know, if these are important thoughts and ideas, they shouldn't be at danger of being erased by the cleaning crew. And we have a story where that actually happened to one of our customers. It's not fun when you come in to the second day of your workshop and everything is erased off of there. You know, things like transcribing as well too. If it's important, it's going to be digital, but you know, we work physically, and then you spend a lot of time transcribing. I think I've calculated something like 1.5 months of my life spent typing up sticky notes, and some of us can probably sympathize with that. If you're working virtually now, then time zones are a challenge as well too. With Mural, and I'll show the tool in a second, but you can actually work a lot more asynchronously. That you can start a conversation visually, and somebody else can kind of finish it, and then you can come back to it as well too. This is one of my favorites, right? I've done a lot of this. You're trying to visualize your ideas, and then you hold up your sketch to the webcam, and by doing that, you can't see where you're holding up the sketch, so you peek over the top to see where you're actually holding it up, right? So, the reality of our situations are that we are working in distributed teams these days, and it's kind of awkward at times, right? This type of interaction is not very satisfying. Or this one, right? You have a group of people sitting around a table speaking into a star phone, and they start writing on the board, and somebody on the phone says, "I can't see it," so they point the webcam at the board. If you've ever been on the phone in that situation, it doesn't help because you can't see anything anyway, if it's not even pointing at the ceiling like it is here. So, by giving you a virtual space that you can visualize your conversation, we kind of address these points. I also just want to quickly show my colleague Mark Tippin and Haley Temple are actually running a workshop, or they did it this morning, on visualizing your meetings. And one of the questions they asked was, what was the first word that comes to your mind when you think of the word meeting? And then they generated a word cloud here for this. So boring, right? Right in the middle. And again, all the analytics and all the tools and the stuff that Mike is going to talk about, super, super fascinating. But I also believe, and we believe here at Mural, that by visualizing your thoughts, it can be more transparent, the conversation more transparent, more engaging, and fun. We want work to not be funny and frivolous, but fun and engaging, right, as well too. So we believe, Mural is an antidote to all of these problems. I'm actually using Mural for this presentation, and you can see me kind of moving around here like I might move around a Google map. And the interaction model of Mural is a lot like Google Maps. You zoom in and out, so you have a surface that you can move in and out on. You can move it left and right, but it's blank. The canvas is blank, so you create the map. So you can think about it like Google Maps, where you create the map of your conversation, of your meeting. You can map all of that out. And the way that you do that are with tools on the left-hand side. So the left-hand toolbar is where you have all of your different content options. So at the top, if I just click that, it'll slide open. You can see I have a title tag, an element, I have a text box, and then I have sticky notes. So I can just drag this out. If I wanted to do a brainstorming session, I can just drag this out and say, how might we make remote teams feel closer? So Mural is a cloud-based application. So that means that there are other folks who are in the Mural with me. And you can see, if you just look at the bottom of my screen, you can see those avatars. So Erica, my colleague, is in there. Mike's in there as well, too. So we're just going to brainstorm in this space right below my header. And we're going to try to come up with some ideas on how we might make remote teams feel closer. So I'm just going to drag a sticky note, drop it out here, and this is an idea that I've never done, but I really like it. If we have the same flowers in different locations, so that when you walk in on the morning, everybody sees the same flowers, even though they're in different offices. There, and I can see what Erica's typing, and I can see what Mike is typing. Mural is not just text-based. We also have some arrows and lines and circles as well too. So if I want to connect, my idea to Erica's, I can draw a line between the two. We also have some basic shapes. We also have some icons as well too. So if I wanted to visually enhance my idea, I could search for a flower icon. Let me just do a quick search here. And I'll put that over here, and I'll change that to orange. So I have an orange flower there. You can also upload images as well too to Mural. So I'm going to say that we do a company retreat in Buenos Aires. That's where Mural was founded, actually. So I can just do a keyword search here for Buenos Aires on the left side. Let's see, what's a good image? And I'm just going to drag this out. That's kind of the main drag there in Buenos Aires, the city. So you can add images. You can also add links. You can add PDF documents as well too. So Mural, takes advantage of the digital medium, and you can bring in lots of your artifacts there. So it's not just a place to get your thoughts out in text. It's actually a place to bring content together. right? And then, like I said, it's also a collaborative environment. So because everything is automatically saved to the cloud, I'm just going to zoom out here a little bit on our brainstorming session. But because everything is automatically saved to the cloud, I can actually interact with Erica's content. She added it to the mural, and it's immediately saved to the cloud. So now I can come in here and I can, you know, if I want to change the color because I want to recategorize it or put it in a different spot or a different column, I can actually come in here and interact with all of the content that is on the mural. I can also add a comment here if I wanted to, and I could, let's see, I'm just going to add a comment here, and I'm going to say, at Erica, how might this work with different time zones? So I'm typing Erica a comment, even though she can hear me live. Let's say we were working across locations. I was working from here to India, from just outside of New York, or, you know, to Sydney. We could actually have an asynchronous conversation around the content through tools like chat that we have built right into the tool. We also have collaboration features like a voting session as well too. So if we want to vote on these, and I'm just going to run a voting session, so I'm going to start the voting session. Give the three of us here, I'll give everybody 3 votes. So I just started a voting session, and now everybody who's in the mural, they can click on one of those sticky notes, and they're actually going to cast a vote for it, right? So if we just stick to the sticky notes there, I like going to Buenos Aires. I shouldn't talk out loud. It's actually an anonymous voting as well too. All right, we're going to do this. So I can't see where people are voting, but I can see that everybody has voted. So thanks, Mike and Trisha, for voting. And then when I end the voting session, the system simply tallies up the votes. That's easy computing, right? It just counts them up. But for my meeting, now I can quickly go to, let's visualize our thoughts and let's find where the focus of attention is. Now we can have now we can focus this discussion on going to Buenos Aires, right? Because we know that people like that idea the most. Or somebody, you know, an executive can come in and say, we don't have the budget for it. But in any event, we know where the focus of the attention is. So the collaboration features that we built into Mural allow you to have this either real-time conversation and visualize it, and then do things like voting and commenting, or you can do that asynchronously as well too. You can come back to this board and add to it. You can add a link here as well too, a reference that other people can open up. Right, all in the Mural. So that's just a little bit of the nuts and bolts of Mural. There's a lot more that I can show, and I encourage you to find more online. We'll send around a link where you can sign up for a free trial. We also have some online learning courses, but just kind of in a nutshell. And what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to zoom out on this mural here. So I've been presenting from this mural, and you can see you actually have a very, very large space. So don't think about Mural like a document. It's not one thing that you come in and do one exercise. You can actually do a whole workshop, or you can do a range of exercises. If you think about the metaphor of a mural, a wall painting, you can think about Mural like a board or a wall that has many different scenes. So it's really about bringing teams together and kind of going from abstract thoughts to prioritization, or, you know, opening a meeting to what's the decision. And you can visualize that all in Mural. It's saved to the cloud, so it's portable. All you need to do is access it with your browser. It's shareable. You can invite other people into the Mural. It's archivable. It's copyable. So you have all the advantage of cloud-based technology and all the advantage of digital technology. But here I just want to talk about a little bit about visualization and why visualizing your conversations and doing what I call thinking out loud, right? So you want to think out loud or work out loud. And doing that visually, why it's really important. This is a diagram written by a guy, created by a guy named Jeff Patton. And he wrote a book called User Story Mapping, which is an agile technique that's very visual. You actually map out the user journey, and then you map out your agile user stories below that. So visualizing is really important for his technique. And here's how he explains the importance of visualization. That if you have a team and you have a meeting, I mean, if you think about a meeting is 2 or more people coming together, right? And the idea is to get aligned. And very often, I've been on many projects where everybody nods and they think they're aligned, right? And that's what's going on here in the first panel. But then when you actually put it out on the whiteboard, or the blackboard in this case, right, you visualize it, you realize you were a little bit off. So you can then negotiate reality. That's what I call the lower left pane here, negotiating reality. And by visualizing that, you can get to those differences in thought, right? So it allows you to express what you're trying to decide on, what the problem is. By visualizing everything, you're allowed to see things from different perspectives and get more aligned as well too. Plus, it just makes work a lot more fun when you're doing this, I just have to say. So one thing that we started to do, I'm just going to kind of move on here. As I was talking, my colleague Erica actually took some of the books that people put into the chat there. So Elise was talking about these two books, Rituals for Work and The 9 Lies About Work. Here's Thinking Slow, Thinking Fast from Mike and Trisha. And here's the book that I was reading. Here's our ebook as well too. You'll notice too that this is a link here. I can tell by this little icon here that this is a link. And I mentioned that you can add links into Mural as well too. So if I double click that, it's going to open up a new tab, and then I go right there as well too. So again, think about Mural as like a dashboard where you can actually bring a lot of information together in one spot. And it's very easy to visualize and lay things out. And you can see, you know, the discussion around these book titles is very different once I have them all laid out in visual than if I had that in a list. So it allows for different types of conversations. I just want to show a couple of use cases and some other uses of it. Again, you get this blank canvas, so you have a lot of control, but you can actually format Mural in any way that you want to guide a conversation. And I just want to show some of the templates that we've created. So in Mural, we've looked at different meeting types and different ways that people want to visualize their work, and we've created a lot of templates around them. Right, so we have the swim lane templates. Even if you're doing HR recruiting, you could map out all of the candidates that you have and look at them visually. We have calendars in here. We even have a Jeopardy game in here, jobs to be done. Here's that user story mapping that I just mentioned from Jeff Patton. So basically what we've done is taken blank murals and pre-formatted them with a specific exercise or a type of a meeting or a method. And here, let me just show you one of those up close. Here's a team stand-up template that is actually based on a technique that my team used to use. My team has grown now, so we've actually extended this. But if you had a small team and you were doing daily or weekly stand-ups where you get together and report out, you could use this mural. And at the top, you can see there are some instructions. But in the middle, each person has a workspace here. So what you would do is you would come in here and claim a workspace here and claim a color. Everybody on my team at Mural, we all have our colors. So I'm purple and Erica is, what color are you, Erica? Are you green? I can't remember Erica's color right now. I'd recognize it if I saw her put a sticky note out. But what you can do is then color code your people as well too, which we do quite often. And then it's simply columns like a Kanban board. Here's what I'm doing this week. Here's what's in progress. Here's what's on. Here are my roadblocks. So when we do a team stand-up and my team is completely remote, what we can do is we can go around this mural and everybody gets a minute. You know, you can put a timer on like I had done before. There's a timer in here. Everybody gets 2 minutes to share it out. And then others can comment on it, or you can add a link in here as well too. So it's just a great way to take something, you know, as simple as a daily or weekly stand-up meeting, visualize it, make it interactive, and really bring the team together. Of course, if you're remote, that's super, super important to build that kind of transparency and engagement that you really need. So I'm just going to go back over to my main mural here, and my time is up. Did you hit the thing, Trisha? Okay.
I did it once on mute, and then I did it once off.
Okay. I think I kind of heard that in the back of my mind, but I see that my timer is up. Again, you know, there's a lot more that we can talk about, and I think Erica, if she hasn't done it already, she's going to put a couple links where you can learn more about Mural into the chat.
Thank you, Erica. Great. Well, wonderful. Well, I'm going to ask Elise to take over and start our Lucid Meetings demo then. Thank you, Jim.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. Mural is so much fun. Really appreciate you sharing everything with us. Now, a quick reminder for everybody, if you have questions, if you can put those in the questions panel, it'll be a lot easier for us to find them afterwards. Now I'm relying on Trisha for the ding, and I have my fancy facilitator timer here in front of my face. And tools like that are one of the many things that we rely on here at Lucid Meetings. Like we talked about at the very beginning, our mission is to make it easy for teams to run successful meetings every day. And as part of that, we've done a fair amount of extensive research into, like, what does that success look like? Well, how do you get to repeatable success at a team level? And what are the things that get in people's way? And one of the things that we found to be entirely consistent, whether we're looking at really great companies that run consistently excellent meetings or companies that run consistently awful meetings, is that in all cases, those meetings are run by real people, most of whom have little to no facilitator training. So Lucid Meetings is designed to help fill part of that gap. The software here is designed to help teams develop a system that makes how they meet obvious, gives them a way to consistently run those meetings, and collect the records for those meetings in a way where everybody can see them. So to show you that, I'm going to start by showing you just how my team meets. We meet on a weekly basis, and here is the meeting record from one of our past meetings. And it's very text heavy, it's very text based, which is why it's so much fun to also be able to work with something with Mural or Storms or some of our other partner friends like that in addition. So I can go here back afterwards and I can look and see when we met, what we were doing, all of the action items that came out from that meeting. And then as we went through each part of our meeting, exactly what we talked about and what came out of it. So we talked about a bunch of action items that we have due from previous meetings. Those are automatically rolled up for us and we got a chance to either complete them or not. We had a chance to celebrate our victories, to know where people would be, to look at our scorecard. So we practice open book here at Lucid. So we get a chance to look at our financials together as a team. And that's something we keep in a different application, which is integrated right into our meeting. And then we looked at decisions we've made. So one of the practices that we've picked up as we've evolved is decision logging. So as we make decisions in our business, we log the decision, the rationale, all the alternatives we considered and things like that. Now, what's wonderful about this, benefits of this kind of approach, is that I can come in at any point and I can see what happened. If I want to know what that decision was in the future, that's all saved for me in my team record. Not only is it saved for me in my team record, it's also available for me, and Zoom video people are right in my way. I'm just going to move those guys out of the way. It's available for me in my email and in my records at this level. So at the end of every meeting, I get a copy of that in my email. Same thing. And then I can download it and export it to multiple formats. So here's just a quick HTML email. Which gives me a chance to take that record and put it anywhere else I need to go. Now, with a team meeting, we keep our records in Lucid, but when I meet with clients or when I meet with committees, they will often download these as minutes because they're automatically generated based on what we've done in the meeting, and they're out there as a record. So beyond the fact that I have this record here, this means not only that I can reference it later, it also means that I don't have to attend every meeting that happens in my company to be able to know what happened. That's especially helpful for us as a small team. So I happen to run a lot of meetings myself with partners that my team can then come in and access. So when they can come into my space, this is my personal meeting room, and here's a history of all of the people that I have met with recently. So if Trisha wants to go and see what kind of conversation I'm having with the president of the BRMI, which is an association that helps business relationship managers, she can come and look at that note at any time. So that makes transparency and transferability of our information consistent across the board. It also makes it easy for me to do things like remember my own commitments. One of the things that we find is that we're very good, and we get a little bit of training, we get a little bit of skills at running a decent meeting, but we aren't necessarily as good at taking what we've done in that meeting and actually putting it to work in our business. We forget. So at the top level, I have a list of every action item that's ever been assigned to me. Don't notice that several of them are overdue. We're just going to pretend that doesn't say that, but it happens. And they're here and they're going to remind me about it. So I have that memory built into how I work. So that's all great. So I have a system. My team runs consistent meetings. We have consistent records. We can all find them. We can get them out to where we work and we can remember it. Fabulous for me as a business leader. However, what happens when we're into a part of a process that we don't know how to run very well? And this is a place where working with tools like Mural come into play, but also tools like Lucid. So here I am in a meeting room. This is a different space. So all of the meetings happen within their own space, different projects, different teams, different groups. In this room, I meet with other folks who are instructors in meeting school. This is the courseware that we run. And we had a meeting where we went over the launch of our meeting school, and that went fabulously well. And now meeting school's been live for a couple of months. It's time for us to talk about what did we learn from that launch and what might we do differently going forward. So the right meeting for that is a retrospective. And I've run retrospectives, I've designed retrospectives, but it's not something I do every day. And when you facilitate a retrospective, there are some do's and don'ts. There are ways you want to get it right. So one of the things that Lucid Meetings has built into it are a series of templates that help us get prepared quickly for more advanced meetings that we don't run every day. So here I will pick the retrospective template and I'll schedule that. I can integrate it. We often use Zoom actually when we do for our audio because we love the video connection in addition to the meeting itself. And these folks are often from all over the world. I'm not going to invite them right now because they'll be confused. So when I start from a template, it is giving me right off the bat a clear agenda that I can follow. It will integrate in this case, it's a scratch paper for brainstorming. Often when we run these meetings, if we're running it with more people, we will actually integrate in something like a storms board or a mural board or another more interactive tool for this particular kind of meeting. It gives me suggested timing, and it also teaches me as a facilitator exactly how to run that meeting with a detailed guide. So the tool is helping me quickly get prepared and quickly learn how to run a process that I don't use every day. And this benefit is useful for me, but I happen to be one of the few people in my company who actually does have facilitator training. So I find it even more valuable for my team and my clients. So they too can immediately get up to speed with the meeting and have it spelled out and easy for them to work with. Finally, as we work through our meetings, and I'm going to go ahead and start this meeting and just show you a little bit about how that works in practice. So we looked at a record where I had the result. We looked at setting one up where I used a template. Now, if I run a meeting, all of that great thinking about how we are meant to run successful meetings can get lost in the moment, right? We're left with the big open canvas of the blank slate. So one of Lucid's jobs is to help focus the group on one topic at a time. A retrospective in this case has a number of steps. We're going to walk through each and every step. We have a welcome. And then we're going to talk about our project review. Now, if this were a real meeting, I would have a document here and I would share a history of the document, or we would have a discussion, or we might in fact work together to take notes. We might say, you know, the project was sad, whatever it is we're going to take. And we take those together in real time. And awesome. Those notes get collected and contributed to collaboratively by everybody who's in our meeting. We can capture action items, decisions, issues. All of those things become part of our rich record. They become part of what we can download and export and work with later. And it looks like Trisha's taking a note well at the same time. So we get some of that same visual, but integration and collaboration that we saw with Mural, but in a very focused, very text-based kind of way, very searchable. So when we are done, we can walk through, and as you can see, there's a timer. It's saying, oh my gosh, keep moving. We'll walk through the agenda, and at the very end, I will go ahead and end my meeting. And here's where we get another opportunity to improve on our success. At the end of our meeting, we have a simple poll, and we can catch our feedback. This was not a particularly exciting meeting because I didn't actually run it or prep with real people. Could have been improved by actually doing the work. Now this feedback is useful. That feedback is useful to the team. But over time, I get another benefit when I have a system like Lucid, and we are not the only system out there, but when I have a system like Lucid that lets me keep a consistent process and keep records on that process, then I can, as a leader, go ahead and look at those records over time and learn how to actually improve and make our success greater. So in addition to that feedback, I also have detailed reports that are keeping track of how well we are practicing basically the indicators of success. So for our meeting, did we schedule and send invitations with enough advance warning for people to prepare? Were people actually contributing to that agenda and the goal and all of that in advance? Turns out my husband and partner, John Keith, who is a wonderful person, I love him, we have children together, it's all great, but he just doesn't add to the agenda in advance like ever. And that's part of our record. I can also see things like in our team meetings, we are regularly going long. And we're regularly going long in some very specific parts of our conversation. So in the future, I can look at this and I can say, well, we can either add time to our agendas, or we can take some of these conversations and break them out because clearly we have more work to do there, or we can do some training. But rather than starting from, hey, our meetings aren't working, I'm starting from, we have a way of running our meetings. They're not going the way we thought they would. How do we want to adjust? It's a very different place to start with your improvement and your learning objectives. I can see what my engagement looks like. So who's taking notes, who's chatting, what's going on. And then perhaps most importantly, a meeting is meant to drive future work. The meeting in and of itself is not the point, although it is often where a huge amount of our value comes together. But if the action items that we capture and the decisions we make don't get acted on, that wasn't a great use of our time. So the follow-up is also something I can see and record. Done. So I will look forward to your feedback and questions.
You have 1 minute if you want to go.
Yeah, I think that's good. Let's give the minute back to the people.
All right, sounds great. Perfect. Well, then we will turn it over to Mike. If you want to take control here, we will watch.
I will endeavor to do that. Just
Thank
bear
you.
with me. I need to share screen one. Share. I'm hoping that you'll see a blank page with why meeting metrics on it. Is that what you're seeing at the moment? Hello?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I'm going to start my timer as well. So do that. Okay, so just to kick off then, why meeting metrics? The first thing to say is that notwithstanding the great improvement that would be made if people used Mural and Lucid more frequently, most meetings don't, and meetings are the most complained about process in most organizations. They're also the process the organization knows least about. And those two facts are not just a coincidence. In history, no process has been sustainably improved without data. And we know that from all of the quality work that's been done on improving processes. But the question is, what data? What is the value of a meeting? And I'd like to propose that the value of a meeting is what people perceive it to be, because they will act in line with their perceptions. If they think that a meeting has no value, they will act as though it has no value, and so it won't have any value to the organization. But how do we actually gather those perceptions? That's where the challenge lies, and we have to make it as easy as we possibly can. So the first thing in terms of Inspirometer that we've worked on doing there is the idea that it uses existing data to do that. And all it needs is actually including a new email address in that you send, and it automatically sets that up in the app so that people who are listed within that meeting can automatically click in and provide feedback. It also, if they then click to do feedback, pulls out the body of the email so that you have the objective and the agenda there, and people can feedback on individual agenda items if they wish. The second thing is accommodating differences. So you'll recognize that in an organization, it's very easy to include people's email addresses from the meeting invite, and that's the way it takes place. But sometimes, like a meeting like this one, you don't know people's email addresses before they turn up. And so you can actually use a QR code for people to scan it with their app, and then they can give feedback. So those of you who've downloaded the app before this meeting, all you need to do to actually get into this meeting, if it's not set up already, is simply click on the 3 lines, get the QR scanner set up, and then hold the scanner up to this QR code, and you should be able to see it. And what I'd like to point out here is if you've got 2 cameras on your phone, you may need to switch it round so that it's on the back one on your phone, which is done by this little button here. But if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to leave this up for a moment or two, and if you can scan this QR code and then join the meeting, that will come in useful a bit later on. There's also, I stuck up in the chat earlier on, a link that if you haven't got the app, you can still join in and provide that feedback. Elise, I don't know if you can copy that and put it back in the chat more recently while I'm nattering on. That would be terrific. So basically, that's the thing in terms of getting people involved in it. The next thing is making it very, very easy to give feedback, keeping it in the flow of thinking so it's what people are thinking at the time, and people tend to know how they feel, and just making it straightforward, anonymous so that they feel that they can do it safely, and giving them a thank you when they do it, but also allowing them to add a comment if they wish to. And then the next thing is that people don't like putting data into something they don't get anything back from. And so with regard to the tool, it immediately puts up a results panel. And those of you who actually have the results available will be able to see the results as we go on. I'm going to do that in a couple of slides' time. But a 0 effort option is that the minimum feedback you can set up is literally just rate how you felt about your use of time in the overall meeting. It was automatically set up for you on the phone. You just click a face and that's it. But at least we know whether meetings are working and adding value in the way we want them to. But there is a more advanced one where you can actually, and this is true of this particular meeting, where you can give feedback by agenda item, you can give feedback on individual contributions in people's participations. You can do it by different aspects of quality of the meeting, or by any agreed value set that you have for your team. And then we want something which is the utility to do something about it. Now, if you have the app open and you go to the Qualities tab, which is the third one in, should give you a series of aspects of meeting quality. And what I'd like you to do is on that qualities tab, rate a strength and a weakness of this event so far. And while you do that, I'll make sure that I'm sharing the results with everybody who's actually logged into the system.
I just want to make sure everyone can access this. We had someone say that the link says that the meeting will start in 3 hours. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here, that people can contribute if you want to raise your hand if you can't contribute. I myself cannot access it. I just wanted to bring that up. It just says it will.
Right.
So I want to make sure that I know I was invited.
Yes, you're there.
Oh, you see me there? Okay, so it could be
Well, let me just check on the. Sorry, I'm trying to see
No
where
worries.
thing is there. So Trisha Harris, because I guess the email I had for you was the one you sent round, but. Okay, well, I'll carry on with the
Yes, please do.
with the aspects and go
Thank
on
you so
with
much.
that, and then pick it up later. If anybody has problems, they're more than welcome to come back to me, and I'll fix them for them.
It did work for me after a refresh. I had it, so I've got all kinds of feedback for us.
Okay, thank you. Now, what happens is after you do that, if you go to the results tab, if it's been shared with you, and it will create a radar plot. And from that radar plot, this one's a mock-up one, but you can see here that tools is a particularly weak area. But what you can do by clicking this area here, it then takes you on to suggest the various tools you might use to improve the meeting. And so the idea is that it gives people something that they can actually do to improve those aspects of their meetings. And that's the free version. I mean, the intention here is just to give people a flying start on improving meetings through the use of feedback. And I'll come on to the metrics bit later. But the free version is for personal use and all attendances. You can do up to 5 meetings per month. And any number of attendances. So, and the meetings you set up can have any number of attendees. You just need to download the app. There is a paid for version because we need to sustain this from income somewhere. And the paid for version does a lot more. What it does is it brings together all of the individual data that people are using, combines it with their calendar data, and produces trend graphs over time that you can drill down into, see different teams. You can see your own team and it builds up for the whole organization. And you can see a lot of data about how meetings are working, which types of meetings are working better than others, and all of that side of thing there. And the idea about that is you can use that data to have a look at how well your organization is utilizing good practice. So you can see whether people are using tools like Lucid and Mural in order to improve their meetings, and where that's happening well and where people may be neglecting that. You can go on from there to see productivity. If you've got more effective meetings, you get the actions completed earlier, so you have fewer meetings to chase on the actions, and those meetings tend to be shorter. Or you can have the same number of meetings, but achieve far more as an organization through what you're doing. But the biggest payback is in terms of the culture, the relationships, improving inclusion and engagement of people, building up creativity. And whereas the productivity gain can be about 10% of turnover, the potential from increased creativity, energy, people's commitment, creating an environment in which meetings aren't things that people work badly, but they're actually looking forward to each day, can actually double your turnover. So that's it basically. If you want to know more, there's the website down there, or contact me. But I'm just going to pull across my version of the thing. So this is an equivalent thing to my phone, so I can see what's going on here. I've got the meeting here and the feedback for it. But when I go to the results and refresh the results, I can see what sort of feedback we've had to the event so far. So gathering an introduction, we've got a range of feeling mural. We've had 3 totally satisfied. Lucid, 1 of each, 2 there. There's some comments on these as well, so you can click into them to see those comments, and you can continue to refresh. And let's see what we've got on qualities. You can see here where the feedback on qualities has been in terms of this part here. And I can go and say, okay, so down here, the tools, if I click on tools, it will take me, in my case, to a thing, the guidance on tools and techniques and strategies that you can adopt to go forward. This is slightly different than the free version because it's embedded in the tool, but the things you can access here, you can also get to the things that are available in the free version as well. So with 3 minutes to spare, that's basically a quick run through of Inspirometer.
Great, that is fascinating. All the feedback that you can get, it looks like there's a lot more there to look at and to investigate. So I appreciate that demo, and just wanted to say thanks to all of the presenters for your demos today. I'm going to take over the screen and see if we can't share a poll. So now, well, actually, you know what? I'm going to open it up for questions. Let's do that first. I don't want to skip that. I know we've had questions come up, and you know, we've had them be answered. So maybe I will go through those just to let everyone know. If you don't have the questions box open, I'm going to kind of read out some of the Q&A. One of Denise actually asked, can you freestyle draw on Mural? And Jim said, yes, you can. So he gave a little explanation on how to do that. That's good to know. And can Mural work off the cloud if you do not have connectivity? And it does not have an offline mode yet. I know that they use HTML5 pretty heavily, so they're going to have to use that content's only going to be saved when you're online and in the cloud. So one more question for Mural, or no, 2 actually. You mentioned the tediousness of transcribing post-its. How is the info in Mural post-it, in a Mural post-it, how does it get transferred to a cumulative document and report? And Jim gives a nice explanation there, and I will let you talk more about that if we want to. He said it gives you an option to work digitally from the start, so there's no transcription needed, which is really great.
I actually have a question about that one.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so Jim, that when I did a survey of tools for visual brainstorming and management, because and Lucid, you can do it, but you can do it with groups of like 4 or 5, and it's, you know, there are no color coding sticky notes or any of the fun stuff. but what I found to be important for my business, and I think this may be true for other teams as well, is I had other systems I needed to get some of those ideas out into.
Yep.
So in the in Mural, is there a way to get them out in like spreadsheet form or other? Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, so it's really easy. You can either from a spreadsheet, you can copy some cells and then go over to a Mural board, and when you paste them in, each cell comes to an individual sticky note.
Awesome.
If you had a bulleted list, it would do the same thing, and you can do that in reverse. So if I do my brainstorming prioritization and I have a list that I want to get into a to-do list, I can copy the text only from those sticky notes in Mural and then switch over to the other application, and when you paste, it's going to take each sticky note and put it on a separate line.
Awesome, awesome. Very cool.
We also have some integrations with tools like Jira and GitHub. Those are tools that people use for agile story management and things like that. And we actually have some direct integrations with those tools where you don't have to do that cutting and pasting. You just send it right over to those other tools, and we'll have more integrations in the future.
We should integrate our tools.
There you go.
So we can launch a mural from Lucid.
You can launch a mural from, and then copy and paste and put it back into the
record. Exactly.
Right,
Yeah. So we do that with storms, and you can launch a storms from within Lucid, and it can iframe in or pop out, which you want to do for the big things. And then at the end, we go over and we grab their report in PDF form or Excel form and attach it back to the meeting record. So you get the best of all the worlds. So,
there you go.
Great.
Very cool.
Any other questions? Looks like I've asked for more questions. People are saying, great webinar, really enjoyed it. So it looks like we've answered all the questions. I'm just going to assume that.
Well, so if we don't have questions from the attendees, I think given that we don't all work together very often, Jim and Mike, do you have any questions for each other or for me?
Yeah, I actually had a question for Mike about just some situations or use cases where you've seen your tool being used. Like, is there a company size or a type where it particularly works well? I can imagine in very, very large companies, either everybody doesn't do it or the data is hard to see patterns. So I'm just kind of wondering, like, what's the size of a team or a company where
the bigger the better.
Oh, okay.
To be frank, if you're an organization of, let's say, below 50 people, then actually, if you don't know how your meetings are going amongst 50 people, you frankly don't want
you have another problem. That's just a teamwork problem there, right? Yeah.
where it lays itself into a much better way of operating is actually in the large organizations, where you need where it's dead easy for people to get lost within them and get depressed and lose all their energy of work. And so with organizations where that might be the case, it's really good. I guess it still has value with smaller organizations, at least in terms of affirming people that they're running good meetings. So people have said, well, I prefer to actually get people to talk to me and say it's a good meeting. And that is exactly right. You should do that anyway. But on top of that, it's nice to know that those people who didn't speak to you are still happy because they clicked a face. And so you can be affirmed in it. But also, if people are saying, oh, it's fine, but actually the faces are coming out different, it gives you an option to actually start another conversation along the lines of, actually, I'm not getting the feedback I'd really like, so let's have a think about what we can do differently in order to do that. So
I gotta say,
does that help?
From our perspective, when we run diagnostics, so we'll go in and do meeting culture diagnostics, and it's those big organizations where you get some of this data, and it has such an enormous ROI impact almost immediately, precisely because looking at meetings in this kind of detail is almost impossible to do. In a large organization, they have no data, they have no tracking, and the wins are so easy once you have that visibility.
Well, as somebody once said to me, if meetings were any other business process of the size and complexity and value that they are, they'd be measured. But actually, most organizations don't even know how much time they're spending in meetings, let alone whether they're improving or getting worse.